Welcome to the Know. I'm Master Jenkins.
And I'm Gus Sorola.
With the Nintendo Switch finally released, Sony riding a wave of exclusives, and Microsoft gearing up for the launch of Xbox Scorpio, the hype wars are kind of in full effect right now for gaming's biggest hardware makers, especially with E3 right around the corner.
But you might be surprised who's actually winning the battle for media attention, according to a new study about press coverage for each of the consoles.
I was surprised. The current winner of the hype wars is, drumroll please, do you have any bets?
No. I know because I just read it.
It is right there. So it's the PlayStation 4, which is kind of surprising considering that Nintendo just released a new console this month, and it could spell a little bit of trouble for them potentially in their plans to gain back some market share from Sony.
But judging by some other data in the report, it's Microsoft that has even more reasons to worry over the next few months heading into E3.
This report comes from ICO Partners, a video game analyst based out of Europe, and they've put together a pretty big study analyzing the monthly media coverage between the PS4, the Xbox One, the Wii U, and the Switch from January of 2015 all the way to our present day. In short, it's a way to look at the hype for each console trended over time.
And what that study shows is the PS4 continually dominating the news with more articles covering it than any of the other consoles.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, it also has the lion's share of the consumers.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
According to the study, the Xbox One never seems to generate the same level of hype as its competition, and has only done so once in the last 2 years. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. Analyst Thomas Bedeau, who wrote the report, said that PlayStation 4 is the clear leader when it comes to console media coverage, and this is a constant. He added, even when looking at the weekly coverage volumes since January 2015, only once did the Xbox One secure more coverage than the PlayStation 4. It was the week of the Gamescom 2015, where Microsoft held a press conference and Sony did not.
So Microsoft went all out, Sony did nothing, and that's the one time?
That's what it took to win, was Sony not showing up.
Eesh.
Yeah. I love my Xbox, but this kind of hurts me.
That's damning. Okay, so why is the PlayStation beating the competition? For one, Microsoft seems to rely on E3 to make its big announcements rather than making them outside of major industry events.
I mean, Sony has their own event.
Yes, Bedeau said. Looking at the chart, all of their biggest spikes happen during June of each year and taper throughout the rest of the year.
That can be a risky strategy, though. Clearly, because while E3 is definitely the most important single event of the year for games media, it means that Microsoft is not learning how to do effective announcements at other times of the year.
Gotta keep beating that drum. Sony, on the other hand, got a ton of attention for its September 7th event last year. That's when it announced the PlayStation 4 Pro, as well as a bunch of compatible games and the slimmer PlayStation 4 model. That event, according to the study, was a big success and matched the level of Sony's E3 weekly coverage.
So all that could mean bad things for the Xbox One. It's not saying that it does, that the console is gonna fail to sell to consumers as a result, but it means that the media is not talking about it very much. And it's no secret that Microsoft wants to make a big splash at E3 again this year, with their console getting criticized for losing the exclusives race, while Sony is starting to pull ahead with hits, pull further ahead with hits like Horizon Zero Dawn.
Recently, GameSpot reported that Xbox boss Phil Spencer has promised that fans can expect Microsoft to dedicate more time to games during the presentation.
He even wrote on Twitter, "I want to give our games more time on stage at E3. I sometimes feel like we rush telling the story of our games at E3.
Of course, they're also going to be spending a lot of time on Project Scorpio that's expected to come out later this year. Then again, it's also been suggested that Microsoft may hold an event dedicated to Scorpio before E3.
You know, they kind of did that when they announced the Xbox One.
Right.
Remember they had that event and they were all, here's all the TV and the entertainment and the things that you don't want.
AKA maybe the worst event ever.
And at E3 we'll talk about maybe some things that you do want, but by then the narrative will be written and you'll all hate us.
Yep. And here we are, years later, still dealing with it.
Yep. Still, though, there's a danger of putting all your eggs on the E3 basket. For one, there's a lot of competition that week between all the console makers. And it's not just Microsoft who wants to make a splash. Nintendo's promised they'll also have a big E3 this year, which makes sense because they really want to keep the Switch's momentum going. Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé told Fox News that Nintendo has big things in store for this year's show.
I'm intrigued. E3 is always a big time for Nintendo, he said. Well, not last year. I mean, they took one game.
Yeah, but that one game still managed to dominate the conversation.
E3 is always a big time.
It's always a big time.
E3 is always a big time for Nintendo, he said. We look at each E3 as a unique opportunity to tell our story, and we're going to have a big E3 this year. We're going to be showcasing a variety of games.
On the other hand, Sony has said almost nothing about their E3 plans. We don't know a lot about what they've got going for the rest of the year, which could mean that Sony's got a couple surprises of their own in store. It's likely. They probably do.
When you're in the lead, you don't need to tip your hand, right?
I suppose not.
Say what you will about media coverage, but it's important. Coverage helps put console on gamers' radars, and if someone's friends are all playing on one console, they're definitely more likely to follow suit.
That momentum's a real thing.
And more players means that the console will be supported by more and more devs. The PlayStation 4 is the best-selling console of its generation, and all the coverage has surely helped that.
Now, as for the Switch, it's still having an excellent start, according to the report. It got a lot of coverage from its in-depth reveal in January, and there's still significant interest in the console even after the launch, despite the limited lineup of games that are currently out. All in all, if it can keep the average weekly coverage of maybe 4,000 articles a week. Yeah, 4,000, that's a lot of articles. It's a good foundation to build on, the study says.
But still, did the Switch do well enough? The study seems to show that even during the Switch's big launch hypathon, that it's still not beaten the PlayStation 4 in terms of coverage. So what does that say about the long-term chances of the Switch?
Well, to its credit, Sony has been able to keep that hype train going pretty hard through the first part of 2017, largely thanks to exclusives like Yakuza 0, Nioh, the upcoming Persona 5, and of course, probably their heaviest hitter this year so far, Horizon Zero Dawn.
So, what have we learned? Well, Microsoft definitely needs to make a splash at E3, Nintendo needs to build on its early momentum, and Sony needs to continue counting its money.
They'll be busy doing that for a while. What do you guys think of the media coverage of PlayStation 4 versus the other platforms? Does that kind of thing matter to you when you're making a decision about consoles to buy? Because you see what it is that seems popular, what it is that people are playing, or do you just write it all off? Let us know in the comments.
And for other gaming industry news, be sure to like this video and subscribe to The Know.
We'll cover all of them. Sometimes, if they have things for us to cover. Microsoft, please. Taking away the Spidey suit. It's a dick move, Iron Man.
He does it in the comics.
I know, but it's still a dick move. It's like...
Well, it's Iron Man.
It is Iron
Yeah,
Man.
okay. I mean, you make a solid point.